Good morning. I am so excited to be here today. I was on Monday, and we had some stuff that we were trying to figure out. One of the things that we were doing with this Alexa skill that I'm building is trying to figure out how we could create a set of puzzles, combine them into a group that we'll call a game, and be able to identify which puzzles are currently the active ones, and have that all done automatically so that when the new game starts every week, the idea is that there will be a new game every Saturday, maybe, um, that it flips over automatically. And so someone that shows up after the time gets the new game, and someone that shows up, half an hour before the time should still be able to work on the previous week's game. Now, the thing that I was really struggling with is figuring out how to write it in a way that doesn't prevent me from having 6 puzzles one week or 4 puzzles another week. Ideally, I think I want to have 5 every time, but I don't want to be forced into that with some business rules in my software. So this was something that I really struggled with, and after we got off the stream on Monday, I couldn't help myself. I had to go solve this, and so I did, and I'd like to start by showing you how I solve this, how it works, but then continue on in our development so we can actually pull puzzles from the database and get to the real meat of this, which is presenting users with puzzles via text message or screen or voice or whatever, and then validating that their answers are correct, which is a big part of this skill. So I'm going to get right into it. Like I said, I've been waiting for this moment to be able to... Morning Ice Cream, thank you for being here. I've been waiting for this moment since we got off the stream on Monday, just because I've had other things to do. I had 2 streams that I did yesterday on the Amazon Alexa channel. One was a show I do with Amit Jatwani called Between Two Devs, where we review a bunch of skills. And then I also did the Alexa office hours yesterday at noon Eastern Time. And on top of that, one of my colleagues in India, his name is Karthik, he has been doing a stream every day this week at 7:30 a.m. Eastern. I know Ice Cream, you were there. And he's teaching people how to build their first skill, working through the developer console and building a skill that asks you a new riddle every day, and you have to come up with the right answer. So I've been moderating that. So that's a lot of time that I'm spending on Twitch, which is super cool. I really like doing this stuff, and as you guys that watch this regularly probably know, like, I really like being able to be here and answer your questions and help you understand the nonsense that I'm building. Oh, good morning, LJ. Thank you for being here. So that's where we're at. So I think I'm just going to get right into it. There's one other thing that I need to touch on before we get into all of this, and that is a promise that I made several weeks ago. And actually, Karthik is the one that called me out on this. VPM Ragu, thank you for being here. I don't recognize your name, so thank you for being here. And this is good timing for you. We made a promise a few weeks ago, thanks to Karthik, that if I got to 250 followers here on Twitch, good morning, Oxygen Box, that I would do an entire episode in a Bob Ross wig, and we'd figure out some fun way to do maybe a Bob Ross skill or something like that. Well, I looked this morning, and we're really close, like embarrassingly close to 250, and so I have a feeling we started this at like 110. So I have a feeling that we're probably going to hit that before the end of the month. That was the goal that we had set. I've actually removed the goal that was underneath my video here because it didn't seem to be working. It seems to only be tracking followers that I get while I'm streaming, and it doesn't update itself to look at the fact that new followers have shown up maybe when I wasn't streaming. And so the number wasn't at all accurate. It said I had 189 this morning. So I've removed that. But we are tracking the actual followers here on Twitch. Volley1234, thanks for being here. Good morning. Or good afternoon or good evening if you are joining me from India. I know a few of you might just be finishing up with what's going on Karthik's stream. And so I'm glad you guys can all join me here if that's the case. Greg Wire, you're exactly right. I'll have to write some... maybe that'll be an APL thing. Maybe I'll figure out a way to draw some trees or do something like that. I don't know. I'm not a very talented artist, but we can sling some code to make it pretend we are. Okay, so that's where we're at on the follower count, just so you guys are keeping up on that. And because we're probably going to hit that number, I'm going to have to come up with a more aggressive goal and a more aggressive challenge for myself if we can achieve that goal. So I don't know what that's going to be yet. but we'll get there. Another thing I should mention, because we like to do silly things during quarantine, is I made another trick shot video. I've been posting these as I've been doing them, and I think I have it on my Twitter page. Let's go look in my profile and see if I have that there. Maybe? Yeah, here it is.
You know that's almost impossible.
I sat at the top of my stairs. That was a fun day. I did that just a couple of days ago, and I already have plans for another one. That's just a small water bottle I got from the Voice conference, the Voice Summit, and it was the perfect size. It was just a little bit bigger than a ping pong ball, and it was fun to do. So if you like that kind of nonsense, you can tune in on my Twitter, and I post that kind of stuff there as I make it. So we were talking about followers. We're all good there. I want to make sure it didn't go up. I'm very worried to acknowledge when this number hits 250. Ice cream, I will be perfectly honest, I expected it to take me a lot longer. It was about, I'm estimating it was about 250 throws that it took me to make it. But that was only about 10 minutes. I just set my camera up and I recorded. And when I was done recording, it took, I think the entire video was 10 minutes and 35 seconds or something. I have about 280 ping pong balls that I bought for some other stuff that I shot earlier, and so I figured, why not? Like, that's 250 tries in a row I can do without really stopping. And that's about. It took me about 10 minutes. It should have taken, I feel, way longer. But yeah, that's how that went. Oh, thank you, Vali, for coming to the community day in Bangalore. That was a very good time. I had a very nice time in India. And met some lovely people. I don't know if I got an opportunity to meet you, but I will tell you that I am anxious to get back to India once all of this is over, because I had a really nice time. And the country is beautiful and the people are loving it. It was great. Okay, so let's get into the thing, right? Here, let's talk about first how I solved this what are my active puzzles problem. So the thing that I was trying to do previously, I guess I should open up some code too. I had just rebooted my machine before we started this stream, so I'm going to need to get back to that. So let's save this file. That's the questions and answers from yesterday. And then we can blow this up, and I don't need to do that right now. And we don't need this. This was from something I was doing yesterday too. Okay, so the thing that I was trying to figure out is when you get kicked to my puzzle intent, I am going to present you with a puzzle. And so a lot of that is done right here. Now, I fixed some of it already, but what I'm doing is later. I am coming in and I'm saying, is there, so I call out to my puzzle database. That's what this line here is. And I had all of this filter data that was designed specifically to allow me to get the right records. And I had all of these filters and all this sorting done, and it was still limiting me to have to say, well, only get me 5 records, which was a business rule that I didn't really want to introduce. And so I've gotten around that. And before I show you the filter statement that I have here, which we'll get into, what I want to show you instead is what I did with my database, because I was able to solve all of this using Airtable, and it's just worked remarkably well. So I have a record in my user puzzle table. Let me blow this up a little bit for you. I have a record in my user table, my user puzzle table. This is a record that gets created when a user finishes a puzzle. So there will never be a record here until you finish something, right? So that's why I have a date completed field. This is actually just a date created record. I don't need to record that time specifically, but when this record is created, because I'll send a request to the database, it automatically records the created date of that record, and that's what the date completed field is. So did I get my Airtable text? I don't know that I did, LJ. I don't know what that means. Did you message me somewhere? I'm not sure, but if you want to send it to me again, or I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, I'm happy to look at it. But no, I don't remember getting something. Um, but anyway, so I know that I have these records. Um, did I get your Airtable text? Let's see. No, I don't think so. Like for my Jeff Blankenburg skill, I don't think so. I didn't see anything. I got one yesterday that came from the only one I got from my Alexa skill was somebody said song time to my skill. Or visit my city sometime. Maybe that was it. But I no, I don't think I got that, LJ. When did you send it? In the meantime, these records only exist if someone has completed a puzzle. And so I have not only the user ID, but I have the puzzle ID. What's cool about this is that in my puzzle table, where I have my actual puzzles, out here at the end, it automatically creates a record for me that is all of the users that have completed this puzzle. So one of the things that I want to do is pull the records for the game that's active, which you can see I have that column here. But I don't want to pull the records for the puzzles that the user has already completed, right? So if they've completed 1 and 2, when I ask for the records from this table, what I really want are these 3, right? And I want to be able to pull the earliest one. That I don't know. I'd have to scroll way back in my text because I do so much. So many messages have been sent for testing and stuff. But I don't specifically see what you're referring to, LJ, and I apologize for that. I did not see your message. But with all the testing that I've been doing, it's possible it just got lost in there. If you want to try it again right now, I'll be happy to see if it comes through. But I want to get just the 3 records. Just asked it how to use it for the business card skill. I see. Okay. So I need these 3 records to come out if I've already finished the first 2, right? That's the goal that I have. But the thing that I was struggling with is how do I know that this is the active record? How do I know that this is the puzzle they should be working on right now? And so I have a game table. This is like the marker for an individual game, and then I assign puzzles to an individual game. And so in this case, I say that there was a game on April 11th, 2020 at 1 a.m. Let's change that to be noon instead. And then you can see that I have puzzles assigned to this. This is a record that's automatically created when I add a puzzle. Hey, Karthik, thanks for joining, man. Great stream this morning. If you guys didn't know, P. Karthik R here. He's doing a stream every morning this week. Yeah, as he calls me out for being almost Bob Ross, he's right. I'm at 248, and we are still at 248? Yeah, good. Good. Let's not cross that threshold. Anyway, so I have this game record that includes the records of my puzzles. And then I was playing around with figuring out how I would know what time it is in the database. And so it turns out there's a function called now, which pulls the actual time right now. Now I'm using UTC time, so the time that you see on my computer up here is not the same time that you're seeing here. But it's UTC, and it only seems to update about every 4 or 5 minutes. So I don't know if it's actually live updating and it just doesn't update the UI. I don't know the answer there, but it's close enough, right? It's within a couple of minutes, and the longer that we watch this, we'll eventually see this thing just flip over, and these records will change to like 214 or something like that. But it's based on the server time of UTC of the machine that's running here, and eventually we'll see it update. I don't know if that'll actually happen live on stream, but it doesn't matter. You can trust me that that's going to happen. But this record is basically just a function that says what is right now. I just pumped in this now, and that's all that I have in there. Oh, there we go. So it just updated to 214. So I have this is active column, and this is the thing that I really need, because what I'm doing in my puzzle table, this is active, is actually a lookup field. So you can see that I'm saying I want to look this up in the game table, the one we were just in, and I want to use the field is active, the one that I was just showing you. So what's cool about this is that it's like being able to pull that record. It's almost like doing a join and being able to pull that record into this table as well. And then I can use just a call to this table to get all the data that I need, Where if you think about something like SQL, I'd have to write a whole bunch of join statements, left outer joins, whatever, to be able to push all this data together and bring it back as a set of records. And if you think about something like DynamoDB, the process that you go through to use a document database is much more like creating a ton of duplicate data. So I would have all of this data duplicated over and over and over across all of my records. And then you run into some challenges with updating records and making sure that they're all in sync and that kind of stuff. There's other work to do that way instead, but it's really, really easy to save your data. So that's something that I've really struggled with, but what Airtable gives me is kind of that nice middle hybrid where I have the relational model, right? If I remove the game reference here, if I just get rid of this, you can see that now I don't know what the game date is and I don't know if it's an active puzzle. But if I come in here and I choose April 11th, let's see if I know which one it is. Oh yeah, I want to choose the April 11th one, I'm sorry. So if I choose April 11th as the game that it's a part of, immediately it pulls these other records in for me. And if I change the values in the game table, it automatically changes it here. So it's when I pull records from this table, I get all the data that I'm seeing here. Josh R. Culp, thank you for the follow. You are the last one before I've hit my silly goal that Karthik has sent for me. So I'm guessing we're at 249 now. And this is usually the time, 248. So yeah, this is usually what happens. As we approach a goal, someone will unfollow just to be funny about it. So we're somehow still at 248, and that's okay. But we're going to have these records here. So let me show you how this actually works in my game table for the isActive function. I use now heavily, and the way that you write functions here, Joe, thank you for being the next unfollow, is I'm using a keyword and what this means is I can provide a number of logical expressions, and if each of them return true, then the whole thing returns true. If any of them return false, then it returns false, and that false is 0 or 1. So you can see here that my first piece is this. You may have to wait a couple of seconds, Karthik, but it should show the graphic if you unfollow and wait a little bit. So you can see here that I'm doing a date-time differential between my date field, the date field that I have in my data table here, if I scroll over, and whatever now is. And what I'm doing is a difference on the seconds. So you can see here, this is a recommendation from Greg Bulmesh, actually. I originally had this as minutes, and I have converted it since to seconds because it makes more sense. I have more granular control. But what I'm saying is, if the difference between the date in that column, there's the Ben Force, thank you for the follow, and now is greater than minus 604,800 seconds, which is the number of seconds in a week, then that's, so if it's greater than that number, right, because it's in the past, so I'm going to get a negative number of seconds. And then if this one's also true, if the date, the difference between date and now is less than 0, so it has to be a negative number. The moment it gets to 0, we should see everything flip. And so I'm actually interested to test this. Let's go to this one, and we'll set this to, I can just type in here. So it's currently, what time is it currently? 2:14. Let's do 2:16 p.m. And then we'll make this one 2:16 p.m. on today, which is the 15th. What should happen, oh, you know what, it's 2:14. I guess we're going to wait for now to update. But what we should see when this updates is that these numbers should flip. And I don't know what causes this to update. But it doesn't seem to be every single minute. So hopefully we will see here in just a moment that data should flip over. I wonder if I just look, I don't want to trigger it myself. I want it to just magically happen. So let's see. Come on. We're at 2:14. It's actually 2:19 right now. The way that I saw this work last time is that it was within 5 minutes, but this is more than I want it to be, especially if I want this to be reliable. Did I set my dates right? April 11th, 2:16 p.m. There's nothing better than watching a clock turn, right? Thank you guys all for sticking around. I really want to see that go. What if I just open the function and hit save? That did it kind of. So what is wrong? Oh, because I have it set for a week. So that's why they're both lit up. What should happen if it was actually a week long is that the first one would have set to 0, but you can understand why it didn't because I have it set to measure for a week. So I wonder if I could do this another way. No, I'm getting too complicated. I don't want to overcomplicate this. I only intend to have one game a week. I think that's the most content I can possibly produce. And if I'm going to do that, let's set this to, let's set the date to be the 18th. I think these will come out on Saturdays. That automatically sets it back to 0. And I'm going to set these back to noon because that's what I expect it to be. So we'll come back to noon. Somebody just turned my lamp yellow. Or maybe pink. I just got a notification about yellow, but oh, there it goes. And then purple. All right, so I have this all set up, and so you can see how this isActive is working. Is this should automatically trigger to flip between 1 and 0 every single week, assuming that I space them out that way. So that is my goal in being able to do this, because what that allows me to do then in my code is say I want the game that isn't disabled, because that's another thing we do. No, I'm sorry, I'm pulling from the puzzle table, remember? In the puzzle table, I've brought that isActive forward. So I'm only pulling from this table alone. I don't have to pull additional data from additional tables. And I'm pulling to get the game that isn't disabled. So you can see I have an is disabled column. If one of my puzzles goes wrong, I can check this box and it's immediately pulled out of circulation. I also have is it active? And that's where I'm saying is active. This %3D that you see right here is just a Unicode character for equals. And so I'm saying if is active is 1, so I only am going to get these 5 records. And then I'm also going to say if I find a user record in user puzzle, then I don't want it. That's what the exclamation point isn't equal to 0. No, I'm sorry, isn't equal to true, basically. But what I'm saying is if their user ID shows up here, I don't want that record. So exclude those from what I'm querying. And then finally, I'm sorting them. And I'm telling it, I'm sorting it by game date. And then I'm sorting it by order. And so game date, of course, I'm only going to get the game date stuff, but I want to make sure that I'm being proper about this. And then I have an order column here. So I want to make sure they're sorted 1 through 5 or 3 through 5 or whatever I get. But I want the first one to be the next puzzle they should do. And then down here at the end, this is also very interesting. They have a fields property that I can use. And this is the fields that I want to pull. So one of the things that I've anticipated is that this field specifically is going to get large, right? As every user finishes that puzzle, the amount of data that gets in that column is going to be huge. I don't want to send that back and forth every single time. So what I've done instead is created a list of just the fields that I want to receive. And that includes things like order and game date and title and voice response. There's a few in here, but I'm being very explicit about the fields that I do want so that I don't include all of them. And that is my query against my database. So once I have that then, I can do a bunch of interesting things, and I've built some of that logic already. The first is if I got records, which means like there's still some puzzle from the game they're on that's currently active that they can play, then we'll do some stuff. Otherwise, I'm going to say, hey, you've already beaten this week's game. Congratulations. Check back in next Saturday for a new challenge. So if they don't have any records left, I've probably, like when they finish the 5th puzzle, I'll congratulate them. But if they come back to the skill early, they'll hear something like that, so that they know, like, oh, it's not time for the new game yet. I've already beaten this one. If we do have puzzles left, though, I'm going to do a few things here. The first is if there was any data in my text response field. So one of the things that you can see in here is I have multiple responses. I have a voice response. This is what Alexa will say. I have a card response. This is the data that I would use to send a card to a user in the Alexa app or on their device. I have a screen response. If I want to send some APL to the device, this is the kind of content that I would use there. I have a text response. This is if I want to send a text message, this is the content that will be sent as the text message. So it's already formatted properly. You can see in here that I have here's the clue for puzzle number 1 today, and then I have a /n, which is how text messages know to do a new line, and then I have a URL to a specific image. Actually, I have too many URLs to a specific image. So let's fix that. Get rid of that quote. I can do that because the /n is included already. So I can do, here's the clue for puzzle number 1 today, and then I just do a line break, and then I have the URL to my image. Now I'm going to do short URLs eventually so that it doesn't look all messy like that, but that is where we're at right now. And then I have an image that I may or may not use for the skill, or for the puzzle, and then I have an answer. And the answer and the synonyms are going to be eventually dynamic entities that I pump into a slot value. Karthik, I have considered that for sure, and in fact, I have a conversation with Airtable today about some of those kinds of things. So we'll see what comes of it. But anyway, so we have all of this data, and those are the pieces that I want. If we look at my code, if there is a text response, then send a text message with that message. And I'm sending it to the mobile number that I have for them, and I'm just sending whatever my text message is. So if there's a text message, we're going to do that. If there's a card response, then we're going to create a card. And I also look inside there and say, well, if there's an image, then send the standard card that includes the image. And if there's no image in my data, then send the simple card, which is just a title and a description. Those are the options that I've gone through so far. I also need to have another condition here, which is if, and we'll just copy and paste because why type things when you don't have to? If session attributes dot game 0, that's again the first game in the list of games that I brought back, dot fields dot card response, I actually want this to be screen response, isn't undefined, then we're going to have another condition, and I don't know what that condition is yet. All I know is that we're going to write some APL here. So I'm going to say we need to add some APL. And so the APL will be what I do if the user has a screen. So one of the other things that I'll need to do is verify that the user is using a screened device. So we'll have to be able to make sure that they're actually using a device that has a screen, and then we'll need to add some APL. And I haven't decided at all how that's going to work yet, and this will continue to grow and modify as I define puzzles. Sometimes I'll show an image, maybe I'll show a video. Those are different APL files, and I'm not sure exactly how I want to manage that yet, but my thought is that most of the time it's just going to be a static image. So I will have to create an APL document that is just an image, and I will just use that document as a template, shove the image into it, and pass that to the device. But I'm not ready to do that today. That's not the thing that I want to focus on. What I really want to do is focus on, if I present the user with a puzzle, every puzzle has an answer. Can I validate using, ideally, dynamic entities to be able to verify that their puzzle answer is correct? So this puzzle intent handler, it's odd in that I built this thing thinking that there was a puzzle intent, but I don't think that's ever true. You can open the skill, you can say launch scavenger hunt or whatever I end up calling it, and it will recognize that you do have a phone number and that it's been validated, and then it'll just automatically take you to the next puzzle. There's never a situation where you say, okay, next puzzle, or give me a puzzle, or anything like that. You just open the skill and go. And so I had this puzzle intent defined, But I've realized pretty quickly that this isn't actually what I want. What I actually need to do is just to have a function that responds to the user with a puzzle. And that's the end of it. So I'm going to leave it as it is for right now, but ultimately I think it would look something like this. Async function give puzzle, give next puzzle. And in here I would have handler input so that I can get access to that data. And then in here there would be like a return function that is return something like this, right? And so all I would have to do, instead of saying things like return puzzle intent handler dot handle, I would just say return give next puzzle, and it would do all the rest of the stuff for me. So it's the same idea, but I have this built as a intent handler right now, and it's not really that anymore, because there's not a time where you'll ask for another puzzle. You just open the skill and it's going to give you the next puzzle. There isn't a place where you can kind of skip or move on. You're either on the puzzle or you're not. And so I've actually changed that a little bit. If we look at my model, you can see that I have what I used to call the puzzle intent is now actually my answer intent. That's actually what I was thinking about when I was building it. I just did a poor job of articulating or thinking it through as we were doing it. So I've changed that to the answer intent. We still have my answer slot down here, which was Jeff and Blankenburg, which we'll swap out here eventually. But what I need to do now is think about how I'm going to populate the dynamic entities, how I'm going to retrieve those values, how I'm going to make sure that I recognize the word the user said and acknowledge that you got the answer correct. There's a lot to unpack there, and I think we can do that in the next hour and a half or so, I hope. So that's currently my plan for today. So I'm going to come in here, and first I'm going to save the changes that I've made so far, because I think those will be okay. Was there any other data that I would want to pivot on? I have voice response is always going to happen, so I don't need to check on that one. And then I have an if statement for card, screen, and text. I think that's really it. Okay, so our next challenge is to figure out how to capture a user's response. So I like to start with the help intent because that's so simple. Use that as my template for what I'm going to build next. And the first thing that I want to do is call this answer intent handler. This is going to be the answer intent. We'll change this to answer, just a little housekeeping. And the previous action will be answer intent. This actually has become pretty handy for me as I'm doing this. And we'll just call this answer intent for right now. This allows us to know that we're hitting the right intent. And so the other thing I need to do is in my manifest down here, I can probably just get, no, I need to keep that, but answer intent is important. So I want to move that as high as I can. Okay, so let's come back and look at that answer intent handler, wherever that went. There it is. Okay, so we have our basic structure. And the thing that we need to do is to be able to get the words that the user said, as well as any resolved entities. So if they matched one of my slot values, then I know they got it right, is basically what I'm looking for. Now, there's a couple of ways to do this. I could use IDs. Oh, Acoritos, thank you for the follow. Acoriutos. Acoriutos? We're going to go with that. Thank you for the follow. We didn't just do the thing, did we? I hope not. Oh, man. Karthik, we've done it. It has happened. We hit 250. All right, so what I'm going to have to do, I don't know when I'm going to do it, but I am prepared. Let's, sorry, Joe. let's think about how we want to handle this. So for those of you that don't know, we got to 250 followers on Twitch. This is a huge milestone. That's way more than I ever thought I would have. And I appreciate those of you that show up regularly, but it's always nice to have new people tuning in from time to time. And so, man, 250 people. Wow. I promised Karthik and the rest of the regular viewers that I would be willing to do an episode where I wear a Bob Ross wig and we build something interesting or cool. So I'm prepared to do that. So maybe we do that on Friday. We'll do that this Friday, and that'll allow us to set a new goal and a new challenge. So what I'd like to ask those of you that are watching is, what should our new goal be? I think it's probably 500. I think that's my next goal. And then we'll go to 1,000 after that if we ever make it. But for the 500 goal, you can add in the comments what you think it should be, but I'd be very interested to have you tell me what you think I should do when I get to 500 followers. Because Karthik came up with the idea of the Bob Ross thing, and I'm ready and I'm on board. I'll do it. I have no shame. But I would also be interested to know like what kind of thing I should promise for 500. Maybe we do some giveaways. Maybe maybe I have to do some kind of specific skill build. Maybe I have to. I don't know. Let's think about it. I don't want to be the one that comes up with it. So if you guys have ideas, Calvin Allen, shave my body. Goodness no. Let's keep this appropriate. That sounds. No one wants to see or hear about that. That's gross. I'm trying to grow as much hair actually as I can right now. So let's keep this beard rolling. I actually just ordered, thanks to my buddy Amit Jatwani. He offered me some advice on using some beard conditioner and some beard oil, and so those were just ordered, and those will be arriving here soon, I hope. And hopefully this will get a little less straw-like. I don't know what the right term is, but it's a little rough. It's a little stiff. So I think I'm going to have to give that a try and see if that doesn't soften everything up a little bit. Calvin, have you found that it actually softens up the hair? Because that's really what I'm going for, is just to make it so it's less coarse. Coarse is the word I was looking for. LJ, build a skill with ISP for auto. Do you mean like cars, automobiles? Because this skill, this puzzle skill, will have in-skill purchasing. We just haven't gotten there yet. It is one of the things. If we look at our to-do list, should we sell hints for $1.99? That's going to require me to do in-skill purchasing. So that is definitely the plan. So if you just want to see ISPs, I'm happy to do it, and it will be happening sometime soon. Anyway, we can think about that stuff. But I want to get to writing a little bit of code. But I can't thank you guys all enough for getting to 250. That's huge, huge, huge. And I want to make sure nobody unfollowed all of a sudden. Okay, so let's get into it. We have our answer intent handler. The first thing that I want to do is, I think I already have this function in here, but I can say var spoken words equals get spoken words. And this is a function that I've built that just basically says I pass in the handler input and I pass in the name of the slot, which is answer. And this will get me, in a safe way, the spoken words that the answer slot had. And if I go back and look at my model, that is in my answer intent. That is the name of my slot is answer. So it's going to go get me whatever the user said in that slot. And assuming that it's not nothing, then we can use it. But this gives me a safe way to check and validate that, and then I'll either have the value undefined or I'll have another value. The other thing that the value that you actually spoke. The other thing that I need is something that I call resolved words. I haven't written this one yet, I guess. But this one works the same way. And this will get me a list of the words that were resolved. So this is when we have a slot value and someone says something. If they match something that was in my slot, I'll get those values back in a list that says, hey, these are values that were so similar to what the user said that I think they might be a match. A lot of times there's just one, but there can be more depending on what your data set looks like. And so I thought that I had I thought I already had that in here, but apparently I do not. So I'm going to start with getting some code from another project where I've written this. And so we'll go to my GitHub and we'll look at the Jeff Blankenburg skill, because I think that's one of the places that I've done it. So in here I have an index. And do I have it here? Get resolved. Yeah, okay. So go to definition. I didn't actually answer that, Karthik, but I think it will be. I think on Friday we'll do the Bob Ross one. Does that sound good for everybody? So if you tune in on Friday morning from 10 to noon, I will be here wearing a Bob Ross wig, and I'll try to get a shirt that looks something like he would wear too. And we'll do it on Friday. Yeah, I think we've earned that. So I'm going to copy my get resolved words function, but all this does is return to me a collection out of the resolutions per authority of the values, and I'm targeting specifically the resolutions per authority 0. I'm going to have to do something different when I get to dynamic entities because I'll have another one. So let's come down here and find my get spoken words function, which looks like that one, and we'll do a get resolved words. And this, again, this is just looking in the specific slot for resolutions per authority, and it returns me either undefined or that collection. And this will need to be modified. I acknowledge that, but it's fine for now until I add those dynamic entities. So now I have the words that you've said. I either have the words you've said or the words that match the thing that you said. The words that I'm expecting that match what you said. So the next thing that I want to do is compare the resolved words, because that's what really matters to me, to the actual answer. And I have the answer because if we look at my puzzle intent handler, I have a bunch of records, but you have like fields.textResponse, fields.cardResponse, and if we go back and look at my table, one of the things that I have in here is the answer. And so this is where I'm going to do matching, but because it's resolved, I know what the value is going to be. I can be consistent and understand that it's going to be reliable and the same. So this is where string matching is perfectly acceptable because I'm not doing anything crazy. Another thing that I can do is use the ID of this record as a match as well, because I don't want there to be any confusion between my answers and my and what the user said. I want to be very clear and crisp about making sure that I'm matching only the right answer. I'm not giving people credit for something they didn't do or having them miss when they actually got the answer right. So we have this. I'm just going to grab this thing because I'll need it for answer. And so down here, I'll just say if our answer equals that, and it'll actually be okay. So we have our actual answer, and then we can say if resolved words 0. No, if resolved words doesn't equal undefined. So this is the first check that I'm going to do, is did I match anything? If they actually match something, great. Then if it wasn't the first one, they're probably wrong. So I can say if resolved words 0 equals answer, then this is where I'm going to... I used the wrong braces somehow. Forgot my shift key at an important time. Okay. So here I have, this is the congratulate the user on getting this puzzle correct. Move to next puzzle. And for right now, that's pretty easy to do. I should be able to do... actually, I've got a couple things I got to do here. Let's move this comment here. We'll do this as a set of instructions. Congratulate the user. Add a record. Add a record to the user puzzle table for this user and puzzle. Sorry. Let's also do send the user to the puzzle function again. So the way we've done that before, and again, I'm creating some spaghetti for myself, but it's just this. I'm going to have to go back and fix this eventually, but I can get rid of this comment because that's done. So that's saved. I can kick them to the puzzle intent, which is where's my answer intent. This is going to happen right here. That's how I kick them back to the puzzle intent. So this will grab the next puzzle, assuming that I've actually written the record, which I haven't done yet. So those things will need to happen, but this is if I have a resolved word and it matches the answer that they gave me, then we do this stuff. Now, if I have a resolved word and it's not the right answer, that is exactly the same as them not having said the right word at all. I need this to be treated exactly the same way as a wrong answer. I can't say, oh, you matched one of our other puzzles or something like that. I can't do any of that stuff. So if those two things are true, great. Otherwise, this is where we need to be careful about this. I'm going to return them to a puzzle intent handler. Otherwise, I'm going to do the I'm sorry, you got the question wrong. That's my default response unless you got it right. So speak output is going to be that is not the correct answer. And then I wonder if I should no, because what do I want to say about their puzzle? Because sometimes it's a voice thing, sometimes it's a text thing. I'll just say please try again for now. This is not the speech that I want to use, but it's please try again. Huh. And if I say please try again, I guess I can reprompt them. We'll do a var reprompt. Output. Okay. LJ asks, is Airtable like S3 or DB? I think you mean DynamoDB. I don't think it's really like either. It is. I talked about this slightly earlier on the stream, but I find. Sorry for the dog, everybody. I find that Airtable is it meets this really comfortable place for me between a relational database like MySQL or Microsoft SQL and something like DynamoDB, which is more like a document database. It lets me have the relational aspects that I really like, which allows me to not duplicate data, something I hate about document databases. But it lets me have the ability to have flat records where I can bring fields from other records directly into my tables so that I can just pull from one table and get everything that I need. But not worry about having to duplicate or update a bunch of records every time I make a change. So in that aspect, it's a bit of a hybrid, at least in my experience. But I think it's probably more like a relational database than it is like a document database, if that answers your question. Okay, so that is good enough for my answer stuff. Again, it's not very complicated, right? I'm just checking. I'm checking to make sure that I have all of this set up properly. And I think that I do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hard code my slot value. And for the one question that I've created, there are... The clue is supposed to get you to figure out what are the 3 last names that Joe Exotic has actually gone by. And so if we open up his page, this is obviously from other names. Here we go. So he went by Maldonado. That was one of the answers. Maldonado. Passage. And what was his original last name? His original name is Schriebvogel. So these are the 3 answers that I'm looking for. Maldonado, Passage, and Schriebvogel. Now what's cool about this is that I also have synonyms. And so I'm going to take this and put it in my synonyms column. And I'm going to tweak this a little bit. I normally do this with commas. Man, I'm going to have to think about this differently now that I have commas in my answer. Maldonado, Passage, Schriebvogel. What I want to be able to do is reorder them so that you can say them in any order and be okay. So I'll just leave the synonyms off for now. That's not important to the problem right now. I can solve that later. But we need to then take this answer and bring it over here to my answer intent, to my slot values. And instead of the value Jeff, I'm going to have the value Maldonado, Passage, Schriebvogel. And in my synonyms, I can solve this here. So we'll just take Maldonado, Passage, Schriebvogel, and we'll swap these two. And when we test this, I'll use one of the synonym values to make sure that my synonyms are actually working. The next one is we'll start with Passage, P-A-S-S-A-G-E, Maldonado, and Schriebvogel. And then we'll start with Passage again. I'm going to copy Schriebvogel because I can't seem to spell it very well. Maldonado. And then we'll do the last one, which was Schriebvogel first. Schriebvogel, Passage, Maldonado. And then Schriebvogel, Maldonado, Passage. Okay, so those are all of my synonyms. Those are all the variants that I might have in the order, but the 3 words are the important piece. And all I've done is provide synonyms for the other possible orders that you might have. My ID here is actually going to be the ID from my record. So I'm going to take this record ID, copy this, and this will give me some power later as well. And then that is the only slot value that I have right now, and that's okay. Let's create another one just so we have something different. And actually, Blankenburg is fine. We'll just use that. So I'll use this, copy. We'll make the answer Blankenburg. I can't be assured, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna see what we can get from it, and see exactly what happens here. We can test this in the developer console to kind of get a feel for this. Oxygen box. This is a really good question because that is a tricky word. But if I come in here to Scavenger hunt, sorry. I'm being distracted. My family is obviously all home, and I hear some conversation out in the hallway, and I was listening in. So if I say open scavenger hunt, I added a little sound effect.
This is puzzle 2.
Okay, and then it automatically quits. That's not super good. Let's do open. No, let's. I hate saying that. Ask Jeff Blankenburg. Hi, I'm Jeff Blankenburg. You can ask to hear my latest tweets, send me a message, or ask for my contact information. What else do you want to know about me? I made some terrible recordings of my voice for that skill, by the way. I have a lot to learn about recording my voice. Okay, Schriebvogel.
You tried to change the lamp color, but you selected an unsupported color. Please choose from the common colors of the rainbow.
So it got it when I typed it.
Or white.
Oxygen box.
What would you like to
mute? I got it when I typed it. Let's see what actually happens if I say it. Schriebvogel. I got the fallback in time, which I guess is what I would expect, but it's not going to show me the value. I was wishing that they would just let that fall. Oh, they heard Treevogel. Okay, so let's do that. That's another thing that I can play with here, is that in my synonyms, we can take all of these. And this might also prove to me, Oxygen Box, that this is a bad question. Like the fact that I'm having to do nonsense like this, and how complicated will it get, and how do I know that people will get it right? This might just automatically get me to a point where I say, this is a bad puzzle. Because I'm trying to get people to say it, and if they can't say it, then maybe it's not worthwhile. Okay, I've added those as synonyms as well, so that Treevogel is in there. And this should train Alexa enough to be like, okay, if they say those three things in any order, it should be fine. And then this is all fine. So I was going to get the record ID for this. And this needs to be over here. This needs to be capital B. Because I actually am trying to match those strings exactly. What I will do ultimately is generate this list. This will all be automatic so that I don't have to worry about, like, did I capitalize it in one place? It'll all be automatically pulled. So I won't have to worry about matching. They will match because it'll be the same data. Okay, so I have my 2 slot values. I have my code for checking an answer. And so I've just realized that I have an issue with my logic. So if you come in here and you're validated and everything works, I kick you to the puzzle intent handler. The puzzle intent handler is this one. This is where I go out and I decide what your puzzle response should be and all that stuff. And then I decided for whatever reason that I wasn't going to reprompt you. But if I do that, then you never ever get to talk to Alexa. You would have to say, tell Scavenger Hunt that the answer is, right? You would never, if you open the skill, you wouldn't get it. So I'm going to have to say, reprompt, what is your answer? And I'll, of course, broaden this speech to be more complex, but I have to do that. There's no avoiding it, because otherwise you don't get a time that you can speak. And I don't think I'm going to be able to train most people to know, like, oh, I just have to open the skill with the answer name included, something like this, right? Ask or tell Scavenger Hunt the answer is Maldonado Passage Schrievogel. Like, they're not going to do that, or at least I don't expect them to do that. And so this gets me to a point where now, at least after I've presented you with the puzzle, I could say, what is your answer? I'll probably have to say, what is your answer? You can always come back later to hear this puzzle again or something like, give them some instructions. But this at least gives me the opportunity to answer the skill. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do, if I go to new terminal, is to ask deploy with some force. Okay. So this is going to take my whole skill, both the model and the lambda, and it's going to push all of this up to... Startup, what are you suggesting here? What if you segregate the code into respective files and call from there? I have played with separating the code into separate files, and I find that it creates more work than I like. I think it's kind of nice that I can break this stuff down. If things get really complex, they have some nice functionality here in Visual Studio Code where I can just close down handlers. So if I'm done working on something, like I'm working on answer handler, right? But I'm not working on launch request anymore, so I could close this down. I could close the phone number, close pin validation. This should probably move somewhere else anyway. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a lot of code to have in one file, but I find that things are much more convenient and flexible when I keep it here versus splitting everything up. So we'll leave that there for now. But by closing these things down, it makes it much easier to navigate too. So I don't need that for right now. Just the puzzle intent handler is the one that I really need. But I can make my file look shorter and more navigable just by collapsing some things. Oh, no problem. That's good feedback. I have a tendency to like it all in one file. But I have played with moving stuff around. It just becomes more complex. You have to export things to other things, and you don't always have the references that you need. And I find that all of my helper functions have to be duplicated over and over. It gets messy. So that's kind of why I've stayed away from that. But that being said, we were trying to test this to see if I could give an answer, and I think we're good now. We've deployed all the things. So let's go over here to our developer console and give it a run. Open scavenger hunt.
This is puzzle 2. What is your answer?
And if I say, well, let's try it with my voice. Passage, Shrevogel, what was the other one? Maldonado. Okay. Passage, Shrevogel, Maldonado.
That is not the correct answer. Please try again.
Well, I did something wrong, but there's something wrong in my logic because it did match. Oh, I know what I did wrong. I didn't do anything. Although it should have kicked it out, right? In my answer intent, if I had resolve words and it matched the answer, then I should have kicked them to the puzzle intent handler. It should have asked me for another puzzle. It shouldn't have gotten here. Let's log some things just to see what we could be doing wrong. User got the correct answer. Okay. Let's try that again with just the lambda. Because I would expect that it's getting me the right answer. It could just be what I'm doing here. Boy, it really feels like that should just work. That's a nice thing about building these little components and functions is that you don't have to write a lot of code to get a lot of functionality. Okay, the lambda's been updated. Please try again, but I don't tell you to try again. So open scavenger hunt.
Welcome to the scavenger hunt. I don't have your mobile phone number in my records. We only use this to send you clues for some of our puzzles, but we can't play without it. What is your full mobile phone number?
That's weird. Let's quit. I don't know what I did wrong there. Open scavenger hunt.
Welcome to one of the toughest puzzles you'll ever encounter. I don't have your mobile phone number in my records. We only use this to send you clues for some of our puzzles, but we can't play without it. What is your full mobile phone number?
UOZPQ. All of a sudden it doesn't think that my... Lord of Sound, I'm glad you like that. UOZPQ. This is the same user ID. So why do you think that I don't have a phone number right now? Am I validated? Did I miss that? I'm just not is validated. I don't know why that happened. Well, let's hope that doesn't happen again. I'm going to come back here. We're just going to keep going like nothing happened there. I don't know why the is validated just got set to not.
This is puzzle 2. What is your answer?
Let's try that again. It was Passage Shrevogel Maldonado. Passage Shrevogel Maldonado.
That is not the correct answer. Please try again.
Okay. So, same deal. Let's go to my CloudWatch logs and see what happened there. Okay. Answer intent handler is getting hit, but I'm not hitting that other comment, which was the user got the correct answer. So oh, I'm almost certain I know why this is wrong. Because if we go here, no. Yeah, if we go here and look at this, I'm saying what I return is this collection of values. And I'm saying I need a dot name on there. That's the issue, is I have resolved words 0 dot name. But you can also see that I have this ID. Gosh, that just feels safer to use that ID, but it doesn't matter. Let's test it with the text first. Updating our Lambda. Okay. Come on, let's go. Now, for those of you that wonder, like, I have this spoken words value that I've grabbed here. I'm not using it yet, but this is a way for me to, instead of saying that's not the correct answer, I could say, I'm sorry, and whatever they said, I can say that is not the correct answer. Right? It also parrots back to them what I heard, so that if I misinterpreted them or whatever, they can hear like, oh, Alexa heard me say Shrevogel. I need to be more specific, right? And then they can try their answer again. So that's why spoken words is an important value for me. All right, let's try this one more time. Please try again. Passage Schriebvogel Maldonado.
That is not the correct answer. Please try again.
Passage Tree-Vogel Maldonado. But it's still matched, right? Like we're still getting my resolution here. What I don't know is why it doesn't think it matched. Maldonado, Passage, Schriebvogel. And if I look at my data, Maldonado, Passage, Schriebvogel. I have a typo. This will again. Do I have a typo? No, it's there. This is why the record ID might be safer. Let's do that. So instead of this is going to be resolved words dot. Make sure I get that right. Dot ID lowercase. And this, instead of answer, this is going to be record ID. And the property in my session variables is capital R record ID. Except that's not true. For the game, that's the game. I want the puzzle ID. Oh, I get that with game 0. Okay, so we're good. We're good. Just want to make sure I'm not mismatching data. Let's see if we can match it on the ID instead and see if that solves any issues for us. Again, it shouldn't matter, but I have copied and pasted those values between, so hopefully that solves my issue. I'll add this too. Resolved words were not undefined. Push one more time. It's good to be able to see that at least I got into the first part of the loop. Resolved words should not be returning undefined. I'm definitely getting resolved values. So it should be coming back the way that I expect it to. And we're good. Okay, so back here. And let's quit again, and we'll just come right into open scavenger hunt.
This is puzzle 2. What is your answer?
Passage Schrieb Vogel Maldonado.
That is not the correct answer. Please try again.
Why do you think it's not the correct answer? Okay, I'm getting that stuff there. What's happening in my logs? 1113, that looks like the newest one. I'm just not getting there. So this is when I present the puzzle. This is when the user answered. This should be my answer intent with the response that we just saw. So, oh. Because I wonder if it's that. I wonder if it's that I put commas in it. That could totally be it, because I don't need commas. Why would I need commas for speech? Yeah, no, you make a good point. I could also try this with the other one, which is Blankenburg, but I think it's the commas. Don't really need punctuation. But I agree with you. I'll get these commas out, and then I'll simplify this to just be one simple word, just to make sure that my logic is working. Since this is kind of a complex statement. Okay, so but we'll make our value Smith. Something nice and easy. That's all that really matters. The answer that's in my database doesn't actually matter at all now, except that that's how I will generate these slots later. EIIE. I mean, it should still match because I'm matching on the record ID, not on the spelling. Gold Zulu. At least I hope that's the case. Okay, we fixed our model. We're matching on the ID, so that shouldn't matter. Oh, nope. This is it. I don't know what it thought answer was going to be. That was probably my issue, was that I was not matching on the right value. But we'll try it with Smith, because I agree with you, Oxygen Box. Let's simplify, just to get past this. I only updated the lambda. I'm going to have to do this again with full deploy, because I changed the model. Okay. So now we're pushing both the model and the lambda. And once that is pushed, then we will hopefully see some success here. It's unfortunate this takes so long, but sometimes that's how it works when you need to change your model. So this is fine. This shouldn't matter at all. We can quit our skill. Still waiting for the model to update. Okay, now we're updating the lambda. Everything's good. Okay, so we've quit our skill. Let's open it. Should ask us for puzzle 2 dot what is your answer? Because I haven't fixed that yet.
This is puzzle 2 dot what is your answer?
And I'm going to say Smith this way.
This is puzzle 2 dot this is puzzle 2 dot what is your answer?
Interesting. What if I say Smith? Well, you know what? Let's make one more change just to confirm this. I shouldn't be doing this yet. Let's just do... Let's move the order of these up here. And then in here I can say speak output equals that is the correct answer. But we can go in our logs and see if it was correct right now. So in here, resolved words were not undefined, user got the correct answer, and then we redirected to the puzzle intent handler, which is ultimately what I wanted to do. So our logic is working. WK Wyatt Jr., thank you for waiting until I got my code working to follow. I appreciate the follow. Feel free to join us here in chat. It's always good to have more folks sharing their thoughts and opinions on the nonsense that I'm working on. But we got the thing that we wanted, which was the user got the correct answer. So we know now that our logic is working. Now it's just hi, welcome. Now we know it's just a matter of me screwing up some data, and it was probably that matching where I was not pointing to the right variable here. So, there was another interesting thing that happened, though, which is that I kicked it to the puzzle intent handler, and it said it twice. Where did the puzzle intent handler go? It said welcome to the puzzle intent handler twice, and I'm trying to figure out why it would do that. Well, let's just work through it. I think we're okay. So we now are validating that the answer is correct. We know that it's working the way we expect it to. So that is the correct answer. Congratulations. Well, this isn't actually what's going to happen. Because if I punt them to the puzzle intent handler, I need to be like, oh, that's correct. Or I could be real sinister and just be like, here's your next puzzle. Right? Give them no satisfaction at all as to whether or not they got it correct. No, but I should do that. So I think this will be part of what I do when I modify the puzzle intent handler to not be a handler anymore. And then I could pass it like some pre-speech that I want it to use. So let's work on this line. Add a record to the user puzzle table for this user and puzzle. So this is where I get to use the Airtable API. And to do this, I'm going to come into their API documentation, and we're going to go to my data table. This is where I absolutely love Airtable. This is a huge thing that they can do for you here. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to create a record in the user puzzle table. So what I need to do that is this code right here. I know my face is kind of in the way, but we'll copy it into my doc. But they've written this for me. It has all of my record structure. It has my database ID. All that stuff is right here. And so all I need to do is drop it right here. Now we'll format some things. I also rename this Airtable lowercase. And the thing that I want to do is take this out, because this becomes process.env.airtable base data. And this becomes process.env.airtable.api key. That way I don't have to put them on the screen for all of you to enjoy. I have those encoded as environment variables in my Lambda function. Then in here we have our user puzzle create statement. So let's take all of this curly brace action. Too far. Okay, so what we want to do, I don't need multiple records. We're just doing one. So we can get rid of that. And I'm inserting a record. So the user ID is going to be session attributes, kind of like this. The user ID is going to be this. So we're gonna bump this up a line. And this, instead of game, it's going to be user, and it's not an array anymore. It should just be user.fields.recordID, and we can check that by looking at our CloudWatch logs, see our user record, and I have a record ID right here. So that is the thing that I need. So I have my user record.fields. Oh, maybe I don't even need that. Maybe I just need user record.recordID. Where do I do that other way? Other places. User.recordID. That's all I need. Okay, so in my answer intent, we're going to say that this is the user. The game ID, that's easy. The puzzle ID, that's this exactly. So we can actually just use record ID. Let's call this puzzle ID, just so that I know what I'm really looking at, and that's going to be here. And then this puzzle ID can come up to this line. And then I don't think I need the answer. What else do I actually need to insert into that table? User puzzle. The things that I want to insert are user and puzzle. I don't need any of the rest of that. Date completed is a function field, right? That's the created time, so that's automatic. So I just need those two. So let's get rid of these records because I don't actually have... I don't have a need for those. Those are fake. Let's see if we can do this for real. So I have everything I hear. I don't need... Oh, do I want answer? Yeah, answer was supposed to be the thing you actually said. This is where my spoken words come in. So let's take spoken words and we'll record that so that I can see how you actually answered it. But I think that's it. Game date, answer, yeah, okay. So those are all the fields that I need for right now. This is my error stuff. Do I need to resolve it? I don't need to resolve it. So we're gonna just get rid of this. This is a fire and forget kind of function. I don't care at all about any of this. Do I usually await these statements? I do it there, huh? Create? Oh, that's because I need to create the record and get the response. I don't care about that for this one. So I don't think I need to do any of that. I don't need to await it. I don't need any of that. So let's get back to my answer intent and just make sure that I've got my logic correct here. So if they've got it right, I want to congratulate them. I haven't done that yet because I have to tweak up my function. I have the add a record to the puzzle table for this user in puzzle. I have that with some error catching that I'm not really using. And I'm going to say that is the correct answer and just end it. That's all we're really going to get for right now. And it'll say please try again on the reprompt, but that's okay. All right, so let's just get to that point where we're inserting the record. So we're saving a record into our Airtable database when the user gets the answer correct. This should be kind of cool to see. I'll do this with my voice because the answer is still Smith. So we'll come here and we'll just look at this table and see. I have my puzzle. I have my user record. So user puzzle, I should see a record appear here when this is working. Man, a lot of traffic at my front door today. I thought we were under quarantine. I don't know, maybe we're getting a lot of deliveries. My dog does not like the doorbell. I have a blind 5-year-old chocolate lab. She's a wonderful dog, but normally very chill, very calm, very loving. But when somebody rings that doorbell, man, that is her trigger. She just gets set off. Oh, I pushed the whole thing. That's okay. I didn't realize that I did that, but I pushed all the code, not just the Lambda. I wondered why this was taking so long. So we have our model pushed up again. Our Lambda function will just take a second here. And I really just want to see that record appear. Okay, Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
I've sent you a text message for the first puzzle. Good luck. Come back when you know the answer. What is your answer?
Smith.
That is the correct answer.
Where's my record?
Please try again.
Stop.
Goodbye.
What did I do wrong, everybody? I mean, I guess I can do that, but I don't really care. That should just work. I don't understand why that's not working. The other thing we could look at is in my puzzles, I've sent you a text message as the first one, and then it just says puzzle, this is puzzle 2 for the second one. So we could just let it kick you over. We could do this, and it should be good. Because in the puzzle intent handler, the first thing we do is go out and get the records. So we should see the record inserted, which we're not seeing, and then we should see... Okay, let me wrap this in a promise like I do everything else, just to be a good boy. So we'll do await new promise wrapped around that, and then I just need a parentheses semicolon at the end. I've wrapped that in a promise and set it to a value that is record, which I don't care about at all, but that's fine. I'm not resolving anything to it anyway. Let's see if... Oh, I did it again. I pushed the model. That's okay. I'm getting flustered by the fact that this isn't working. The beauty of this is that I'm always able to just pull Airtable's code right from their API, and it just works. And I don't have to go think about this stuff. All right, well, we'll give it a look here and see what it is I might be doing wrong. Really want that record to show up. Let's go. Model deployment is finished. My light is pink again. Alexa, set Office LifeX to white. Okay, we're good. Let's give this one more try, just hoping it works. Alexa, open Scavenger Hunt.
There was a problem with the requested skills response.
How did I get this far into this and not mark that as a async function? I don't even need to look at it. I'm positive that's what the issue is. I added an await statement and didn't add async to my function definition, so it doesn't like that. So we'll just fix that here quickly, and then hopefully we'll see something work. Alexa, open Scavenger Hunt.
I've sent you a text message for the first puzzle. Good luck. Come back when you know the answer. What is your answer?
Smith.
There was a problem with the requested skills response.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere. 34. Invalid record ID. That's what I'm getting from Airtable. But that's after I've already gotten the correct answer. And it's freaking out. So that's not a problem I was trying to solve right now. Did my record get written? No. What's going on? Airtable user puzzle create with my fields that are user, puzzle, and answer, which are user, puzzle, and answer. What am I doing wrong? Not worried about that yet. So I wonder if I could Airtable CodePen. This is only a for listing records. Is there a way I can do create records? Yeah, let's do this. The example I was using was for, I don't know how this is different, but the example I was looking at was for inserting multiple values at once. Let's do it underneath it, just so I have the values that I need. So this is going to be record ID. And this is going to be puzzle ID. And this is going to be answer. Now this is going to be spoken words. This can now go away. And the only difference was that it was looping through the set of records instead of... Boy, oh boy. Losing my steam here as I cruise into the end of this session. I really want this to work. This should be Airtable. This is about as simple as we get now. I don't know what else I could be doing wrong, so we'll try just hitting this one more time and see what the issue could be. I'm just gonna sit down. This standing all day. All the time that I'm streaming, most of the time I'm standing. This is a standing desk that I have everything rigged up on. But I realize that later in the day, like my legs are tired from standing all day. So let's come here and try this. Quit. Open scavenger hunt.
I've sent you a text message for the first puzzle. Good luck. Come back when you know the answer. What is your answer?
Smith.
There was a problem with the requested skills response.
Killing me here. Invalid record ID. So it must think that one of the values that I'm sending here, either this one or this one, is invalid somehow. So let's look at what those are. because somehow I'm not getting the right value. So this, I think, is puzzle ID. This, I think, is user ID, basically. That's this whole chunk. And we'll do spoken words just for good measure. All right. We should have a good indication of what in the world I'm doing wrong now that we're there. Now that we have all of those values being console logged right before we make the call to the database. It should be pretty clear to me once this runs what I've done wrong, but I'm guessing it's one of the values. It's probably this, but I don't know. I thought those were all correct. Okay, back to here, quit, open scavenger hunt, Smith.
There was a problem with the requested skills response.
Cool, cool, cool. I'm okay with that. 41. The puzzle ID is undefined. Well, that would be why we're having issues inserting into the database. Why is the puzzle ID undefined, and how in the world did I get past this then? So let's look at my puzzle record. So I come in here, puzzle intent handler. I get the puzzle response. Fields.image. Oh. Is there not a record ID in there? I have fields.image. I have fields.title, order, voice response, game date, answer. But I have no fields. I just have ID. That's very interesting. So it should look like that instead. Okay. I thought they all... Oh, maybe it's that I didn't. No, I do have a record ID column. So records.fields. There should be a record ID column in here. I don't understand. I mean, it's okay that there's not, and my code has been fixed, and let's test it to see if it works. But I have two very big questions. One is, how am I passing the check that I got the answer right if I don't even have a value? We'll have to check that. And then the other one is...
That is not the correct answer. Please try again.
And now you don't think the answer is correct. Certainly looks correct. Okay, so I expect it to end in capital N, capital J, V. And what I'm getting here is a... I didn't even get in the loop, so I can't see it. But the puzzle that I gave them, I know that. Okay, so I'm just broken on my side. It's just me that's wrong. Take this and move it here, and then we'll also do... I'm going to get rid of all these log statements. I'm so excited to get rid of some of these. Resolved words ID. Yeah, resolved words is a function that I created, Gold Zulu, and it passes me back the array of items that are potentially resolved. It's always passed back as an array, even though most of the time you only get one. It's very possible to get more than one, so that's why I have to refer to the first value in that list, which is what the 0 is. So let's see if that gets me what I want. I have 15 minutes left. I think I'm very confident that we'll be able to solve this. There's just something I'm not matching properly. I would expect puzzle ID and resolved words ID to match. And they're not currently matching. So, quit. Open scavenger hunt. Smith.
That is not the correct answer.
Okay.
Please try again.
And then we're at 1146. Resolved words ID was undefined. That's why I was getting a match earlier, is because for whatever reason these are both undefined, which is why I was passing the check. Oh my gosh. Okay. So what should resolved words be? Because if I look at this, the request envelope, and I come down here to my resolutions per authority, values, value.name, because it's, oh my gosh, why am I so dumb? Okay, that doesn't need to be value though, just that one. If I could read a JSON document, I would be incredibly dangerous. Ice cream, that would be a fun game to play. No matter what, you get the wrong answer. Oh, I see what you're saying. You're talking about the thing I mentioned yesterday. That would actually be perfect. For those of you that don't know, I was on a stream yesterday and I was talking about the idea that we should build a wrong answers only skill where you have to give responses that are only wrong answers. And so, example I used yesterday was, how do you cook a turkey? And you can only give wrong answers to that. It's kind of like when you see people walk up and they'll like try to give you a fist bump. Obviously, we don't do that today in today's quarantine, but imagine somebody came up and tried to fist bump you and they say wrong answers only. The idea would be to do anything with their fist that doesn't involve bumping their fist back, right? So you might grab their hand, or you might shake it, or lick it, or do whatever gross thing you want to do. But like the idea is that there's a wrong answer to a fist bump, and there's lots of them, and it's more fun to hear all the wrong answers and see the wrong answers than it is to just see somebody fist bump someone else. So our code is updated. I think it's going to work this time because I'm not being dumb anymore. So let's try.
I've sent you a text message for the first puzzle. That is the correct answer.
Okay, so we got the correct answer. What I want to see is there a record in this table? Please, 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 please. Boom. Sorry if that was loud in your ears. We got it. We have date completed. So I'm going to delete that record because we can test one more thing now. And that is coming back here, and instead of the speak output, say send them to the next puzzle. Now I'll have to tweak like the speech that happens in here. I'll have to pass some things and whatever. That's fine. We can live with that. But I want to see that I answer a puzzle and then boom, next puzzle. That's what should happen this time. So I've deleted the record so I don't have the puzzle correct anymore. So let's see what happens here. And then I'll spend some time refactoring that puzzle intent handler to be more like a function than it is what it is today. Okay. Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
I've sent you a text message for the first puzzle. Good luck. Come back when you know the answer. What is your answer?
Smith.
That is not the correct answer. Please try again.
What? Stop.
Goodbye.
Oh, because I'm doing this inside the promise. If I do it there, it'll work. All right. We gotta try one more time. So let's delete our record one more time. Push our code up one more. And I'm gonna try and say Jones first. And then I'll say Smith the second time. So it should not work on the first one just by saying something. It shouldn't work for saying anything. It should only work if I say the right answer. Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
I've sent you a text message for the first puzzle. Good luck. Come back when you know the answer. What is your answer?
Jones.
Fallback intent.
Whoa. Smith.
That is not the correct answer. Please try again.
Stop. That should have worked. This is my promise.
Welcome to one of the toughest puzzles you'll ever encounter. I don't have your mobile phone number in my records. We only use this to send you clues for some of our puzzles, but we can't play without it. What is your full mobile phone number?
Stop. Did that devalidate me? It did. I'm doing something where...
Before we can play the game,
Alexa,
I need to make sure I have...
Stop. I also have a bug that is devalidating me when I call
Fallback intent.
something. Stop.
Goodbye.
That's to solve for later. If I do a return, there must be an issue with puzzle intent handler where I'm getting an error or something, I would guess. Yeah, see right here I'm not getting... This is where I said Smith, and then I had a new response builder. No. Why would I... Why would that happen? Why am I getting here? I shouldn't get there. Because puzzle intent handler... Do I await this other places? I don't think that I do. No. But because it's I bet it's an asynchronous problem that I'm running into. Return await. I'm guessing this is an asynchronous problem. So I'm going to try awaiting my call to the puzzle intent handler, because what it should do is allow the whole puzzle intent handler to happen. But my guess is because I'm waiting for a return, it just continues forging forward and exits the if statement and hits the other one. So by awaiting that, my puzzle intent handler is the thing that gives you the puzzle. It's not actually an intent handler. I need to restructure that. That's what I was mentioning earlier. It really is just the function that presents the user with the next puzzle. And so I have a function that I've started building somewhere called give next puzzle. And I'm going to turn this whole puzzle intent handler into that. Because you can never, in this skill, you can never ask for another puzzle. You just open the skill and boom, you're in the puzzle. And that's it. So it doesn't make sense to have a puzzle intent handler. I'm not going to have a puzzle intent. So that's why I need to restructure that. But it does do this. It does respond with a response builder. So I think I'm just not awaiting it because in here there's await calls. It's an asynchronous function. And so I think that the code is just not waiting. So I think this time, we'll come back one more time and delete my record. I think this time it'll await and we should get the appropriate response, which should be the next puzzle. So let's try it. Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
Welcome to the scavenger hunt. I don't have your mobile phone number in my records. We only use this to send you clues for some of our puzzles, but we can't play without it. What is your full mobile phone number?
Stop.
Goodbye.
Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
This is puzzle 2. What is your answer?
Stop.
What is your answer?
Alexa, stop.
Goodbye.
I deleted the wrong record. Alexa, open scavenger hunt.
I've sent you a text message for the first puzzle. Good luck. Come back when you know the answer. What is your answer?
Smith.
I've sent you a text message for the first puzzle. Good luck. Come back when you know the answer. This is puzzle 2. What is your answer?
Stop.
Goodbye.
Okay, that was interesting. So that's where we're going to leave it today, but I'm passing it back to the puzzle intent. Let's see if we can look at this logic really quick. So I pass it the puzzle intent. The first thing it does is says, if the previous action was a launch request, then play the intro sound. Well, the previous intent should have been, previous action should have been answer intent, because that's what I just did. So that shouldn't be true, but it did play the intro sound. Then we're pulling puzzles from the database, and it responded with, I'm going to have to inspect some of this data, but let's get rid of all these console logs that I don't need anymore, now that everything's matching. It doesn't know ice cream, but what it does is the puzzle intent is actually stupid, and it doesn't actually know anything. So what happens is when the puzzle intent gets called, it goes out, grabs the available puzzles, and asks you the next one. So the filter that it uses to pull the records excludes puzzles you've already completed. So it should always say, oh, okay, I'm going to get this record. Boom, I've got this thing. And I give you number 1. You answer number 1 correctly. Now I go to get the puzzles again, and I say, oh, you've already completed 1. Let's do number 2, because number 2 will be the first record in those results. So we've got a little work to do. I just want to get rid of some of all this crazy console logging stuff that I don't really need anymore. I tend to let those sit around too long, and then they live on for years. So that's all good. I'm passing off to the puzzle intent. One of the refactors I have to do is rethink puzzle intent anyway. So I'm going to look at that specifically and see how I can refactor that. One of the things that I would want to do is take this output, that is the correct answer or whatever. I'd get that information here and I would pass it in as like, hey, something you should say first before you say whatever you're going to generate as the puzzle responder or whatever. I want you to say this thing and then anything else that you continue to add to it. So that is something else I'll have to refactor, but I think I will do that maybe this afternoon by myself. Alexa, stop. Mickey Mouse says it's time to stop. So we are right at noon on Wednesday. That also means that where I live here in Columbus, all of the tornado sirens are about to go off. It always makes me wonder, if you have them scheduled for noon on Wednesdays, what happens if there's a tornado at noon on Wednesday? How do I know? You're testing the sirens at the same time. Just something to think about. So with that, thank you guys all for tuning in. I can't believe we got to 250 followers. I will be wearing a Bob Ross wig on Friday on this stream, and we will do something interesting. If we want to keep working on this, we can keep working on this. If we want to build something that's related to painting or happy little trees, we can do that too. But I'll let you guys drive. So with that, thank you guys all for tuning in. I will see you again very soon.